Good morning. It is Monday, June the 24th, and this is The Drill. Thank you very much. This is Ronald T. Hardgrove, and this is my podcast called The Drill. It's about the difference between being a true conservative and being a reactionary, a traditionalist, or a socialist. It's about what defines these philosophical theories and why it matters. My podcast is made possible by Spreaker.com, and it can be heard on iTunes and Spotify, among others. My email address is storytimes@hotmail.com. I'm on Twitter at Ronald Hardgrove and on Facebook at The Drill. I started my socio-political odyssey as a conservative Republican. I assumed that I was conservative because of where I stood on the issues. However, whenever I engaged a liberal in debate, even though I knew I was right, I felt that I was losing the argument. I also noted that right-wing pundits I listened to on radio struggled as well. If I know that I'm right, but I'm losing the argument, then something is wrong. It was then that I decided to investigate the liberal-conservative dynamic. I read a book by Ayn Rand titled Philosophy, Who Needs It? I learned from the book that philosophy is not optional. It is an inescapable, inherent part of life. I also learned about essences and accidents. And these facts opened up my eyes, and I looked at the world in a new way. I concluded that the right cannot win on the issues, that the issues were a trap for the unwary. They were created by the left for the left. I also discovered what being truly conservative is all about, that any argument starts from the standpoint of is actually about change. If it ain't broke, don't fix it is realistic and conservative, and if it ain't broke, break it is idealistic and socialist. The issues are not the basis of my thinking, but the result. What is the status quo? Individuality. True conservatives know that the individual is primary. The rights enumerated in the constitutions are individual rights, not human rights, not white rights, not men's rights, not straight rights. The true conservative thinks as an individual for and about individuals. By conceding the concept we, reactionaries allow themselves to be trapped into groupthink, inadvertently promoting the very thing that they claim to despise, a bloated, overreaching bureaucracy. As a result, the left appears to win again and again. A word about the left. In reality, they have no authority, they have no power, they can't win. The only reason that they appear to win is that reactionaries give them their victories. Reactionaries, especially talk show hosts, aid and abet the left. The biggest mistake that so-called conservative talk show hosts make is failing to make distinctions. Judgmental distinctions between Republican and Democrat, conservative and liberal, capitalist and socialist. Being a Republican, conservative, and capitalist is better. Conservatives need to remind the public of the superiority of their beliefs every opportunity they get. They must refuse to pretend that they are neutral. Let me be clear, being truly conservative is realistic, effective, and true. Anything else is idealistic, ineffective, and false. Or to put it more simply, being truly conservative is right, and everything else is wrong. The second biggest mistake that so-called conservative talk show hosts make is confusing reactionary with conservative. Being reactionary is an anti-conceptual mentality that involves reacting to arbitrary claims and aping the left. Arbitrary claims are those claims that lack evidence or proof. Aping the left means copying their communication style, which means making predictions and using anti-concepts. Making predictions deprives conservatives of value by substituting forecasting for moralizing. Moralizing involves judgment. Judgment is used to decide ultimately what is real and what is imaginary. We use judgment instead of prediction because we need to answer the question, what should I do? Not what is going to happen. Using anti-concepts aids the left in obliterating legitimate concepts such as property and conflict of interest. The third biggest mistake pundits make is in confusing traditionalism with conservatism Traditionalism demands a slavish devotion to the status quo, and it's a mistake because it is as idealistic as socialism. The socialist tells himself, if only we could get rid of the status quo, we'd be all set. The traditionalist tells himself, if only we could get rid of change, we'd be all set. And the conservative asks himself, should we change? If it's true that the imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, then right-wing pundits do more to honor the left than to defeat it. And that's my little introduction to my podcast. And when I come back, I'm going to be reading from the Ayn Rand lexicon, The Concept of the Day. Thank you very much. Welcome back. And from the Ayn Rand lexicon, the concept of the day is the good. All that which is proper to the life of a rational being is the good. All that which destroys it is the evil. For centuries, the battle of morality was fought between those who claimed that your life belongs to God and those who claim that it belongs to your neighbors, between those who preach that good is self-sacrifice for the sake of ghosts in heaven and those who preach that the good is self-sacrifice for the sake of incompetence on earth. And no one came to say that your life belongs to you and that the good is to live it. There are, in essence, three schools of thought on the nature of the good: the intrinsic, the subjective, and the objective. The intrinsic theory holds that the good is inherent in certain things or actions as such, regardless of their context and consequences, regardless of any benefit or injury they may cause to the actors and subjects involved. It is a theory that divorces the concept of good from beneficiaries and the concept of value from valuer and purpose, claiming that the good is good in, by, and of itself. The subjectivist theory holds that the good bears no relation to the facts of reality, that it is the product of a man's consciousness, created by his feelings, desires, intuitions, or whims, and that it is merely an arbitrary postulate or an emotional commitment. The intrinsic theory holds that the good resides in some sort of reality, independent of man's consciousness. The subjectivist theory holds that the good resides in man's consciousness, independent of reality. The objective theory holds that the good is neither an attribute of things in themselves nor of man's emotional states, but an evaluation of the facts of reality by man's consciousness according to a rational standard of value. Rational in this context means derived from the facts of reality and validated by a process of reason. The objective theory holds that the good is an aspect of reality in relation to man, and that it must be discovered, not invented, by man. Fundamental to an objective theory of value is the question of value to whom and for what. An objective theory does not permit context dropping or concept stealing. It does not permit the separation of value from purpose, of the good from beneficiaries, and of man's actions from reason. And that was the concept of the day, the good, from the Ayn Rand lexicon. Back in a minute. Thank you very much. Welcome back. So what I wanted to get to today in terms of sort of an editorial is the president's position. The president's, he claims to be like a master deal maker, right? We're going to make deals, we're going to make great deals, we're going to make fantastic deals and all that stuff. But he gives away his power. And this is a habit that's done by Republicans and conservatives all the time. And it's probably the most disappointing thing about President Trump is his inclination to give away power. He has a powerful position, and instead of using it to his benefit and to the country's benefit, he throws it away. First example of that was not last October, but the October before. He had a position where he was in a position where he had both branches of Congress were Republican, and he had a situation where the budget, there was supposed to be a continuing resolution, and he could have shut down the government at that particular point and put pressure on Congress to come up with some kind of a bill to address illegal immigration. But he didn't. He allowed himself to be talked out of it. And as soon as he did, he knew he made a mistake. And he said, never again. And the following year, after the Democrats had taken over the House of Representatives, that's when he put his foot down. And he said, I'm going to shut down the government, and I don't care how long it lasts, etc. A lot too little, too late. Okay, he had the opportunity 2 Octobers ago, should have taken it, didn't, and it really cost him. Because now he's in a position where he really doesn't have much money. He's still in the same problems he had 2 Octobers ago with the border. So now we have another situation where he says to Mexico, okay, I'm going to go ahead and initiate a 5% tariff. And every week it's going to go up another 5% until such time as you get the immigration from Central America under control. You quit allowing Central Americans to walk through your country to mass at our borders and flood this country. And so then, of course, the Mexicans rush to Washington, and there's the negotiations, and guess what? We came up with a deal. The Mexicans have promised to do X, Y, Z. Well, apparently, from what I understand in the news, that the Mexicans have promised these kinds of things before and have failed to follow through. So Donald Trump called off the tariffs, and said, let's see, and if in 45 or 60 days the Mexicans haven't done this, then we'll go ahead and institute. Wrong. It's a horrible dynamic. Now, the latest one is with the border, is he says, I'm going to start deporting immigrants. Okay, there's a whole bunch of immigrants that are here that have been ordered deported. They've had all their appeals, et cetera, and we're going to start deporting them. Millions of them. There's 2 or 3 million of these people that have already been ordered deported. They're still in the country, and we're going to deport them now. Little sweeps, if you will. And the Congress talks him out of it. Says, no, don't do that. Give us 2 weeks to come up with some kind of a bill. And he relents. Okay, we'll give Congress 2 weeks. Crap again. This is not a deal maker here that does these kinds of things. This is a standard Republican crap that we get from George Bush. This is the kind of thing I would expect from George Bush. This is kind of BS. What he should have done in the case with Mexico is say, we're going to do a 5% every week until you get this under control. Now they come and they want to negotiate. And we say, you know what you have to do. Go fix it. And as soon as you fix it, the tariffs come off. There's nothing to negotiate. Nothing to negotiate. So then on the date in question, the 5% goes on. And you keep the pressure on. You do to the Mexicans what you're doing to North Korea. He knows how to deal with North Korea. He tells the North Koreans, look, we're going to have sanctions. And Iran, we're going to have sanctions against you guys. And we're going to keep the sanctions on and increase them if necessary until you do what you need to do to be good neighbors. Quit pursuing nuclear weapons in both cases. But he won't do that with Mexico. So he's powerful with regards to Iran and in regards to North Korea, but extremely weak when it comes to Mexico. The problem is that President Trump did not run. His primary campaign promise, was not to fix the Iran situation or to deal with North Korea. His primary campaign promise was to get a wall on the southern border and to get a handle on illegal immigration. He needs to take a North Korea/Iranian type response. He needs to treat Mexico the way he's treating North Korea or Iran if he hopes to get this problem under control. Because if things work out the way they have in the past with Mexico, a few weeks later, Mexico will have done nothing and we'll be right back at square one. And then the same thing with Congress. 2 weeks from now, there's no reason to believe they're going to come up with anything. They're just going to come up with some new excuse for why it is they can't come up with a bill. And they're going to come up with, and they're going to find a new way to blame President Trump for it. So if President Trump, with the case with Democrats, again, deport these people, keep deporting them until Congress acts. You don't let the pressure up. You need to treat Congress like you're treating the Iranians, treat the Mexicans the way you are the North Koreans, and you'd be winning. But you're not. You let the pressure off, and they're just, we know what they're going to do. They're going to punt. So, anyways, the other part of this is that the solution, ultimately the solution to illegal immigration, is coming from you and me. You and I have to get involved. The idea that Congress or Washington or state capitals are going to solve this problem is crap. Representatives aren't going to solve it. They're not going to do squat. Okay, nobody's going to do anything. As long as you and I, number one, keep hiring illegal aliens. The reason that people come here illegally is they know if they get across the border, they'll get a job. That can't continue. It has to stop now. The other thing is that they know that they're going to be able to get into the communities and nobody's going to report them. That has to stop as well. If we really expect illegal immigration to come to an end, you and I must, number one, quit hiring illegal aliens. Period. Second thing we must do is when we know, and I've had people that have told me flat out, they're almost bragging about it, they're almost proud of it, that they're here illegally. And I haven't done anything about it. Drop a dime. You and I need to pick up the phone and call ICE. Okay, we have to do that. We have to pick up the phone, call ICE, and say, guess what? I know that there's an illegal alien. Imagine this. Imagine how fast we'd solve the problem if you and I did that. And ICE was getting a dozen phone calls a day. 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 phone calls a day about illegal aliens. How fast do you think that Congress and the rest of the boob politicians in Washington, D.C. would act to solve this problem? And, more importantly, how many people from Central America are going to be willing to walk all the way from Honduras to the United States of America in order to get across the border, be reported to ICE, and be deported? Or find that once they get here, they can't get a job. Nobody will hire them. They won't come. They won't come in the first place. Again, you and I are the ones that are the problem here. It isn't the Republican Party, the Democrat Party. It's you and me. As long as we continue to have the attitude, the illustration I like to use is you're standing at your kitchen sink and you look out the window and you notice that there's burglarizing your neighbor's house. They start to come out, you throw open the window and you say to them, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. But since you're here, would you mind mowing my lawn? That's crap. But that's the way we treat it. That's what we do with illegal immigration. Oh, well, you're here anyway, so you may as well clean my toilets. You may as well watch my children. Why would you hire? Because these people they're not coming here because they want an honest living. If they want an honest living, they'd wait in line and get a green card. They're thieves. They have broken the law. They're fugitives. Why would anybody in their right mind hire a fugitive from justice to watch their children? What kind of stupidity is that? Not only stupid, it's immoral. It's wrong. You and I can't do that. We cannot continue to turn a blind eye to illegal immigrants in our midst. If we don't, you and I don't have the stones to go ahead and report these people, refuse to hire them, we're lost. Forget it. We may as well just scrap the border, scrap the wall, scrap all the immigration laws, and go switch over to open immigration. Anybody can come and do whatever they want. And it'd be like the Wild West. So, and again, I'm really disappointed with Donald Trump in the way he's handling this situation. He has power. He could be He could be getting anything and everything he wants, but he lets the pressure off. He goes soft. And that's a shame. Back in a minute. Okay, thank you very much. Welcome back. So, who are the true conservatives? They are the people that understand that conservatism is not just political, but cultural as well. They are patriotic people who use common sense. They make judgments instead of predictions, speak clearly and definitively, and are not afraid to say no. They are open-minded, asking why rather than why not. They are consistent, credible, and influential, not ashamed of their existence, unafraid to learn or correct their mistakes. They are normal Americans. And that brings me to the conclusion of another episode of The Drill. And until next time, thank you very much for listening, and have a great day.